Let me tell you something nobody else will. You are a stranger to yourself. Every decision you make, every relationship you choose, every pattern you repeat, someone else is pulling the strings, and that someone is not external. It is the part of you that you have spent your entire life running from. This is not cruelty. This is reality. And the sooner you accept it, the sooner you stop being a puppet and start becoming sovereign over your own psyche. Carl Jung understood this over a century ago. The world does not reward unconscious living. It punishes it. Silently, relentlessly, perfectly. You are either the master of your inner world, or you are its prisoner. You are either integrated, or you are fragmented. There is no middle ground. So here is your choice. Keep living blind, controlled by forces you refuse to acknowledge. Or wake up, descend into your own depths, and learn the ancient art of becoming psychologically invincible. This is your beginning. Here is a truth that will sting. Nobody is coming to save you from yourself. Nobody owes you self-awareness. The world is not your therapist. It will not hold you, comfort you, or guide you simply for existing. Your psychological power is not determined by your feelings, your wishes, or your years of avoiding inner work. Your psychological power is determined by one thing only: what you have integrated that others still deny. This is the harsh mathematics of consciousness. Jung wrote that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. They see your reactions, not your intentions. They see your patterns, not your potential. You may have a brilliant mind, but if you cannot see your own shadow, you are blind, and blind men do not rise. They do not command respect. They do not build anything lasting. They simply repeat the same mistakes while wondering why life keeps dealing them the same cards. Stop asking yourself what you deserve. Start asking what you have refused to face. This is not pessimism. This is clarity. The moment you understand that your psychological value is a product of integration, something you build through confrontation with yourself, everything changes. You stop projecting your problems onto others. You start owning them. You stop being controlled by your emotions. They start serving you. This is the difference between the unconscious and the sovereign. The unconscious hopes their problems will disappear. The sovereign makes themselves impossible to manipulate because they have faced every darkness within. So audit yourself with brutal honesty. What parts of yourself do you refuse to acknowledge? What emotions do you deny having? What patterns do you keep repeating while blaming everyone else? If you cannot answer these questions, you have work to do, not tomorrow, not next month, now. Because every day you remain unconscious is a day you hand power to the shadow inside you. And trust me, it is always hungry. Everything you hate in others lives inside you. Read that again. Everything that triggers you, disgusts you, makes you self-righteous. It is a mirror reflecting what you refuse to see in yourself. Jung called this the shadow, not the monster under your bed. The monster that is you. The shadow contains every quality you disowned to survive, the aggression you were punished for showing, the sexuality you were shamed for feeling, the ambition you were told was selfish, the weakness you could never admit. All of it, compressed into a psychological time bomb ticking beneath your conscious mind. Most men spend their lives running from this darkness. They project it onto enemies, competitors, ex-lovers. They point fingers so they never have to point inward. And they wonder why the same patterns follow them like a curse. Here is what Jung discovered that changes everything. The shadow is not your enemy. It is your untapped power. Every quality you have buried contains energy, raw, primal, undeniable energy. The rage you suppress could become the fire that protects your boundaries. The selfishness you deny could become the wisdom to prioritize your own well-being. The darkness you fear could become the discernment that sees through manipulation, but only if you integrate it. Only if you stop running and turn around to face what has been chasing you your entire life. Shadow work is not for the weak. It requires sitting with discomfort most people spend their whole lives avoiding. It requires admitting that yes, you are capable of cruelty. Yes, you are capable of selfishness. Yes, you contain the very qualities you have always condemned. This admission does not make you evil. It makes you complete. And complete men are dangerous, not because they have no darkness, but because they know their darkness intimately and have learned to wield it consciously. Start today. Notice what irritates you about others. That is your homework. Write it down. Then ask yourself honestly where that same quality lives within you. This simple practice, done relentlessly, will transform you faster than any therapy session or self-help book. The shadow you avoid owns you. The shadow you integrate serves you. Choose. You are not seeing reality. You are seeing a movie projected onto reality, starring all the characters you refuse to recognize as aspects of yourself. That boss you resent for being controlling. That is your own disowned need for control reflected back at you. That friend you despise for being arrogant. That is your own buried superiority complex screaming for attention. That ex you blame for everything. That is every unresolved wound you refuse to examine given a human face. Jung called this projection, the unconscious mechanism by which we attribute our own unacknowledged qualities to others, and it runs your life without your permission. Every strong emotional reaction you have to another person is data, not about them, about you. The things that trigger you the most are the things you have buried the deepest. The people who infuriate you the most are the people carrying your disowned shadow. This is not comfortable. Comfort is what got you here. Comfort is the anesthesia that keeps you asleep while your unconscious runs the show. Withdraw your projections. This is not optional if you want psychological sovereignty. When you stop seeing enemies everywhere, you see reality clearly for the first time. When you stop blaming others for your emotional states, you gain control over your inner world. When you stop projecting your power onto authority figures, you claim that power for yourself. The man who projects is controlled by everything he sees. The man who integrates is controlled by nothing. This is freedom. This is power. This is what Jung meant by individuation. You have worn a mask for so long you forgot there was a face underneath. Jung called this the persona, the carefully constructed image you present to the world, the version of you designed to gain approval, avoid rejection, and fit into society's expectations. Professional persona for the office, social persona for friends, family persona for relatives, romantic persona for partners. You have become a shapeshifter so skilled that you lost track of the original form. Here is the danger Jung warned about. When you identify with the persona completely, when you believe the mask is your actual face, you lose access to your authentic self. You become hollow, a performance searching for an audience, a role with no one playing it. The symptoms are unmistakable. You feel exhausted after social interactions that others find energizing. You say what people want to hear instead of what you actually think. You make decisions based on image rather than truth. You have no idea what you genuinely want because you have spent so long wanting what others wanted you to want. The persona is necessary. Jung acknowledged this. You need a social interface to function in the world, but it must remain a tool, not an identity. The moment the mask fuses with your face, you are lost. Start practicing strategic authenticity, not reckless disclosure of every thought and feeling. Strategic revelation of who you actually are beneath the performance. Say no when you mean no. Express opinions that might cause friction. Allow yourself to be disliked by people who only like the mask anyway. Watch how quickly your world reorganizes around the real you. Most people will leave. Good. They were never there for you. They were there for the performance. The people who remain after you drop the mask are the only ones worth keeping. The persona is a bridge to the world. Cross it, but never mistake it for home. There is a version of you waiting on the other side of integration, a version that has faced the shadow, withdrawn projections, and dropped the false mask. A version that is whole, not perfect, complete, not finished. Jung called this process individuation. The psychological journey of becoming who you were, always meant to be beneath all the conditioning, trauma, and performance. This is not self-improvement. Self-improvement assumes you are broken and need fixing. Individuation assumes you are fragmented and need integration. The goal is not to become better. The goal is to become whole. The individuated man moves differently through the world. He is not reactive because he has faced his triggers and disarmed them. He is not manipulated because he knows his weaknesses intimately and guards them consciously. He is not controlled because he has withdrawn the projections that gave others power over his emotional states. This man has met his shadow and integrated it. The darkness no longer controls him from the basement of his psyche. It sits at his table, acknowledged, respected, channeled toward constructive ends. This man has dropped his persona to the status of tool. He can wear masks when necessary, but never forgets the face underneath. His authenticity becomes magnetic because it is so rare in a world of performers. This man has stopped projecting his issues onto the world. He sees reality clearly, without the distorting filter of unacknowledged psychology. His relationships improve because he is finally relating to actual people, not projections of his own unresolved content. This is psychological invincibility, not the absence of weakness, the integration of weakness into strength, not the denial of darkness, the conscious wielding of darkness as power. Jung wrote that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Most people never claim this privilege. They die as strangers to themselves, having played roles their entire existence without ever asking who was playing them. Do not be most people. Your emotions are not your friends, they are forces, and like any force, they must be understood and directed, not obeyed blindly. Most men are slaves to their feelings. Fear dictates their decisions. Anger hijacks their relationships. Anxiety paralyzes their ambitions. These men believe they are their emotions. They say, I am angry, I am afraid, I am anxious, and so they become possessed by passing states. Jung understood the difference between experiencing an emotion and being identified with it. There is a you that exists beneath the emotional weather, a core self that can observe the storm without becoming the storm. Train yourself to witness rather than react. When anger rises, notice it without becoming it. When fear whispers, observe it without obeying. Create space between stimulus and response. In that space lies your freedom. This is not suppression. Suppression pushes emotions into the shadow, where they grow stronger and more destructive. This is conscious experiencing, feeling fully while maintaining the witness perspective that keeps you sovereign. The emotionally sovereign man is terrifying to those who try to manipulate through emotional triggers. Their guilt tactics find no purchase. Their shame attacks bounce off. Their fear provocations land on someone who has already faced worse terrors within himself. This is not coldness. This is completion. The man who has integrated his emotional nature experiences life more deeply than the reactive man, not less. He simply does not lose himself in the experience. He feels everything while being controlled by nothing. Start practicing today. When emotion rises, say to yourself, I am experiencing anger rather than I am angry. This simple linguistic shift creates psychological distance. That distance is where mastery begins. Beneath your awareness lies a territory vaster than anything you consciously know. Jung called it the unconscious, the realm of dreams, symbols, instincts, and everything you have ever experienced but forgotten. Most men ignore this realm entirely. They live on the surface, concerned only with conscious goals and rational plans. and they wonder why their lives feel shallow, why meaning eludes them, why they sabotage themselves in ways that make no logical sense. The unconscious is not passive. It is actively shaping your life whether you acknowledge it or not. Every time you act against your stated intentions, every time you choose partners who repeat old patterns, every time you self-destruct just as success approaches, that is the unconscious pulling strings you cannot see. Here is the choice Jung laid out. Work with your unconscious or be worked by it. Working with the unconscious means paying attention to dreams, not dismissing them as random noise, but treating them as messages from a deeper intelligence. It means noticing synchronicities, the meaningful coincidences that point toward paths your conscious mind would never consider. It means honoring your intuitions even when they contradict your rational analysis. The man who befriends his unconscious gains access to wisdom beyond rational comprehension. He makes decisions that seem illogical but prove perfect. He navigates life with a guidance system most people do not even know exists. The man who ignores his unconscious becomes its puppet. He repeats patterns without understanding why. He is sabotaged by forces he refuses to acknowledge. He lives a life that feels scripted by someone else because it is. Start a dream journal tonight. Write down whatever you remember upon waking, no matter how fragmentary or absurd. Over weeks and months, patterns will emerge. Symbols will repeat. A conversation with your depths will begin. This conversation is the beginning of psychological sovereignty. Everything else builds on this foundation. You have heard the principles. You have glimpsed the framework. You have seen the map that leads from fragmentation to wholeness, from unconsciousness to sovereignty, from puppet to king. But knowledge without action is entertainment. Information without integration is distraction. And you did not find this video to be entertained. You found it because something in you is ready. Something that has grown tired of the patterns, the projections, the endless repetition of unconscious living. Something that knows there is more. So let me ask you directly, what shadow will you face tomorrow that you have avoided until now? What projection will you withdraw? What mask will you examine honestly? What emotion will you meet with consciousness rather than reaction? These are not rhetorical questions. They are the questions that separate the unconscious masses from the sovereign few. Jung did not write for dreamers. He wrote for those willing to descend into their own depths and emerge transformed. Be that person starting now, starting today, starting with the very next moment of self-awareness. Understand that transformation is not a single revelation. It is a series of confrontations repeated until they become integration. You will not wake up whole tomorrow. You will wake up slightly more aware, slightly more integrated, slightly more sovereign. And those slight gains compounded over months and years will create a version of you that current you cannot imagine. This is the path. There are no shortcuts. The secret is consistent descent into your own depths. The secret is befriending the shadow rather than running from it forever. Most men will hear these words and feel something stir. Then they will return to their distractions, their projections, their comfortable unconsciousness. Do not be most men. Be the exception. Be the one who actually does the work. The world will not make this easy. Your ego will resist violently. The shadow will terrify you before it transforms you. The process will feel like dying because parts of you actually are. Embrace the death. It is the only path to rebirth. Jung called it the night sea journey, the descent into darkness that precedes every genuine transformation. Every hero who ever existed went through this passage. You are being invited to join their ranks. From this moment forward, relate to yourself differently. Watch yourself with the curiosity of a scientist studying a fascinating subject. Notice your reactions without judgment. Track your patterns without shame. Befriend your depths without fear. You are not your past. You are not your patterns. You are the awareness that can observe both and choose something different. That awareness is your sovereignty. That awareness is your freedom. That awareness is the self that Jung said waits patiently beneath all the noise of personality for you to finally recognize it. Now, I want to hear from you. If this message reached your depths, if you felt recognition rather than just information, prove it. Drop a comment below with the phrase, "I am becoming psychologically sovereign." Let that declaration mark the beginning of your descent and your rise. Let the algorithm witness your commitment. Let other warriors see they are not alone on this path. And if this content illuminated something you had kept in darkness, strike the like button. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss another map for your inner journey. Turn on notifications so you are always prepared for the next descent. Share this video with one person you know who is ready to stop running from themselves. One person brave enough to face their shadow. We are building a community of the psychologically sovereign here, an alliance of those willing to do the inner work that most avoid their entire lives. You are now part of it. Welcome to your transformation. Now go and integrate.